Hi, I'm Phoebe.
And I'm Stephen.
And we are just another knitting podcast. Welcome to our repeat viewers. Welcome back to you, and welcome to anyone who's joining us for the first time. We are from Christchurch, New Zealand, and this is our little corner of the world where we talk about our knitting. Yes. Okay, so front of the show, we thought we'd mention we're participating in a make-along. So quite a number of podcasters from all around New Zealand.
So it's a Kiwi make-along.
It's a KM cow.
Yes.
A KM cow, yeah.
KM?
KM Mal.
That's the one? Kiwi make-along. I think it's because it was more than just knitting as well.
Yeah, so you can do crochet or weaving or spinning. So the idea is that you participate. There's a Ravelry page which I will link below, and all of the other participants I'll link below. And we all got together, and we were invited. Strawberry Patches came up with the idea. And it's really just to celebrate the joy of New Zealand knitting. So to participate, you need to either knit with New Zealand yarn or a New Zealand designed pattern from a New Zealand based designer. And it's been really great. There's been so many people knitting the same thing I'm knitting, which I will talk about later, which I've been really enjoying. It's like kind of spurred me on because people are way ahead of me. Wow, people are fast knitters. Anyway, so there is a Ravelry page that and all of the links for information about that are below. And we also wanted to just say Manawatia Matariki, and that means welcome or greetings from Matariki, which is a holiday in New Zealand. So Matariki is the celebration of the rising of a star set called Matariki, and it signals the end of the beginning of the Māori New Year, so end of one season, the beginning of another, and it coincides with the shortest day in New Zealand. So yesterday was the shortest day in New Zealand.
Yes.
Yay, the winter solstice. And so we have a public holiday, so everyone gets a holiday.
Pretty recent, actually. So.
Yeah, we've only had the public holiday for the last 3 years.
Yeah, so because it was a public holiday too, we took advantage of that and planned a weekend getaway. So
yeah,
we've just got back from Hokitika, which is on the west coast of New Zealand.
Yep.
And yeah, we enjoyed yesterday evening watching the sunset over the western shore, or the western sea.
Over the Tasman Sea. Yep.
Over the Tasman from the west coast of New Zealand. And it was a beautiful night.
Beautiful.
Clear skies with sort of moody clouds on the horizon.
So we took some pictures and some videos, which we'll put at the end for you, so you can kind of have a look at what that looks like. We drove across. We're very lucky in New Zealand that you can drive from here where we are by the beach.
Yeah, on the east coast.
To the west coast, across the Great Divide, which is the
Southern Alps.
The Southern Alps, yeah, which is a mountain range.
Yeah.
Beautiful countryside, like all of the things, rainforest, alpine parrots called a kia. You can see, snow-capped mountains and beautiful waterfalls, and it's just stunning everywhere you look. So we took some pictures of that for you anyway.
Yep.
So we had a lovely weekend away. Stephen did a lot of knitting. I was in a business meeting for an organisation I'm involved with all day on Saturday, but that was also really good. And we celebrated Matariki, which is all about kind of endings and new beginnings. So it's an opportunity to think about people who have passed for the year and remember them, and to start thinking about the new year, because it is, for us, that's now the shortest day past, and we are now getting lighter and brighter every day until summer.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Looking forward to sort of sunshine and blue sky in the mornings again.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we've been up to this weekend, and we just got home before and thought we'd better crack into this, because while it is getting lighter day by day now, it is getting dark at 5 o'clock in the evening, so we thought we'd better get cracking before it gets dark.
Yeah, or before the blinds go down again.
Yeah, that's right. If you're a regular, you know it's been happening in the wintertime, that's what happens. Anyway, so let's start with what we're wearing.
Yes. What are we wearing? Okay, I'll start.
Yeah.
Okay, my turn to start this time. So today I'm wearing the So Basic sweater by Maxim Sear, also known as Max the Knitter. I knit this in the Wild Earth Aspen, I think it was Aspen, 4-ply.
Yep.
And the colour for this one is cherry.
Beautiful, nice.
It is.
colour.
It's very nice. It's quite. It's a velvety kind of yarn. It does as it wears. It doesn't really peel so much as scuff. So I mean, I haven't.
Yeah, it just kind of mats together. I mean, it sounds bad, but it actually it turns a nice velvety soft.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not sure if you can see, but I've never really de-pilled this, and this is probably one of my most worn sweaters. I've talked about it before, so I probably won't go too much into the trials of knitting it, but it was also a well-taught lesson in why you should swatch new yarns and the consequences when sweaters grow and how much surgery is often required to fix them.
Ah, sweater surgery. So you took off the bottom.
Yes, this is the one where I essentially cut about 2 or 3 inches off the bottom and then did some rapid decreases to cut about 60 stitches out at the bottom rib just to actually bring it in and stop it from looking like a dress.
Oh, yeah, so it was doing a bit of tenting.
It was doing a lot of tenting.
Yeah.
And even around the neck, I mean, this was almost a complete sort of shoulder-to-shoulder boat neck. So I really I ripped out the collar and re-knit the collar minus about 20 or 25 stitches as well. So really just to bring it in. So overall, the body is actually very oversized.
But that makes it kind of comfy too.
It is.
Yeah.
It kind of doubles as like a comfy sweatshirt. I do wear it to work occasionally, though I think it's starting to get a little bit too scuffed for general work attire. But it depends on the day, I guess, and it depends how I feel. So
Yeah. And I am also knitting something
can you see a theme?
in Wild Earth Yarns Aspen in the same colourway. So it's the colour is cherry in 4-ply. So we're wearing the same yarn, different jumpers. So I'm wearing the Blue Super by Gudrun Johnston, which is from one of her liner magazines, but you can actually buy it as a separate pattern. So I knit this and talked about it on the show previously. It's an all over lace pattern. The original pattern doesn't have the long sleeves. The sleeves finish at the arm, but I wanted something that was going to keep me a bit warmer, so I've knitted them all the way. And with the seal of approval from Gudrun, because I wore it when I met her.
That's right, you did.
At James's Wairarapa weekend, and she thought that was a great idea.
Oh, well done. And I mean, it looks really good too.
Yeah,
so.
I really like the way the sleeves kind of balloon out.
Yeah, the long cuffs
nice.
kind of give it a sort of an antique-y...
oldie worldy
kind of vibe.
Yeah, so this isn't one that I would normally be wearing in the depths of winter, but it's nice and warm in here, so it's fine. And I really love this. Like, I got a little bit of wear out of it before it became too cold, but it's definitely one of my go-tos. And as Stephen said, the yarn is wonderful. It has worn really well, and mine didn't grow the same as yours did.
Right.
And I wonder whether that's because I don't experience that very much at all. Like, I have looser gauge, which means that my stitches are looser to begin with.
Yeah.
And I actually wonder whether it's because if you're a tighter knitter and you're going to knit with yarn that's going to give, yours will give more than mine.
That's
because
what I
mine's
think.
already given more.
Yeah, I agree. I had cinched up my stitches quite tight because I was on small needles.
Yeah.
And I think,
They just relaxed more.
the yarn just relaxed and there was just way more stitches and way more rows. And then I think it was actually there was way more rows than there needed to be as well.
Right. Anyway, we better crack on because I've got a bit to talk about. We don't want to meander too much. All right, so finished objects, Stephen. Show us all your FOs, buddy.
Yeah, I said last episode that perhaps I might have a finished done cuff. I was very close to having
Very
a finished
close.
done cuff.
Guys, there was swearing.
There was a lot of swearing, sorry.
He came very close to getting it finished.
Yeah, what happened was it would have been finished but for the travel, and I was halfway through the final couple of rows doing buttonholes for the cuff, and it didn't. One of the needles popped out. Didn't survive the road trip home from Hokitika, and somehow I managed to drop a stitch. So there's been a little bit of tinking and a little bit of ripping back. So boo. Yeah, no finished cuff, but I can show.
Oh, we're not up to whips.
So. Oh, we're not up to it.
No. When
Finished
we get to
objects.
it.
Oh yeah, I can show it, and we'll show it once we get to that point. So,
yeah,
but anyway,
exciting.
So anyway, bottom line for me, I don't have anything finished to show this episode.
But great progress on your whips, I'd say. So okay,
Yeah,
so
maybe.
I had a couple of things. The first is, I'll show this one. This is my Stratified. Yay, finished. Woohoo. I'm so happy with it. Should I put it on?
You
put
should.
It on. Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I do, isn't it?
Yeah, you seem to change your jerseys like that.
So this is by Tif Neilan, and the pattern again is from a liner magazine, but you can buy it as a separate pattern. And this is knit in Outlaw yarn, worsted weight, which is a woolen spun merino, and it's still available. It's not a discontinued yarn. And I knit this because I have lots of scraps. I knit a lot in the Outlaw Rebel. It's a very good basic yarn to knit with. A little bit woolly, but also really soft. And so I have lots of kind of bits and bobs of colours now. And I had enough of these colours to make this. What can I say about it? It's a really nice pattern. I mentioned in the last episode that the suggested needle size was 5mm, but I don't like the way the fabric feels because it's actually quite a light worsted, I would say, wool wise, and I prefer it on a 4 or 4, oh, probably a 4.5 is about perfect, which is what I knit this on, which means that I didn't get gauge, and so I didn't get either row nor stitch gauge, so I did have to do some we did some maths, which we did on the last show. It was painful, and to figure out what size I needed to knit, so I just went one size up. It was fine, and I also didn't get row gauge, which meant that I was supposed to separate for sleeves about here, but I did that separation down here. And also I was worried about running out of this pink colour, so what I did was I knit down to the bottom. You can see I've got a pink row there, which is actually supposed to be as wide as that one, but it didn't quite make it. So I knitted down to there, and then I was a bit worried, so I knitted kind of a couple of rows of the pink, and then I stopped, put those those stitches on hold, and then knitted both sleeves so that I would definitely have enough pink for the sleeves, and then went back and used every scrap of that pink to finish that little row there, and then finished it off. So I was pretty pleased that I've now used up every scrap of that pink, and of the yellow. I've got a tiny ball of the yellow left and a tiny ball of the green. So
it's a great stash buster.
Great stash buster. Yep.
Fantastic.
And the stripes look really cute, and I really love the colours.
The colours are great. I mean, it's not typical colours, but they are kind of joyful.
Yeah, definitely me. I like wearing colourful clothing, so I feel really. It's such a good jumper. The only thing I would say is that when I first knit it, it's quite tight in the sleeves, and the raglans sit out quite far, and I thought that was because of my row/stitch gauge issues. But actually looking at the pictures, the raglan just is out quite far.
Right.
And I'm not sure why the sleeves are so tight. I think that probably is a stitch/row gauge problem. And the other thing is that the collar sits up quite high. It's quite boat necky.
It is.
And I took 8 stitches out of the neckline. So I just took them out like I did because I pick the collar up. I always do. I never knit the collar. I never knit collar down. So I picked up the collar stitches, and then I did another round where I just did decreases each side of the raglan. So I did 8 decreases around to reduce the number of stitches before I then went into the ribbing.
Do you think that's because the designer wanted to try and emphasise the stripe nature of the jersey with like horizontal stripes rather than getting a sort of a rounded stripe like you often get in a
I don't know, but
yoke?
it had 116 stitches at the neckline, which is actually a lot. Like normally I would probably have somewhere between 94 and 100, but I reduced it to 108, but 116 makes a very wide collar, and when you look at some of the pictures it is quite a wide collar, so I think it's designed to sit wide on your shoulders,
Right.
and then that would look different if it were wider.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's just the modifications I've done have made that. Anyway, it's a really good knit, and I've worn it heaps already, even though I just finished it, because it's nice and warm and cozy, because it's worsted weight and woolly wool, which is very warm. And I'm really pleased with it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so that wraps up finished objects, or
No?
no? One more.
Okay, so the good news is that I finished the zipper sweater Light Man. The bad news is that I went to Hokitika to give it to Paul, and here it is. And why do you ask?
It's come home.
It's come home again because I did know this before I took it over, but I wanted to confirm with him, is that it is a wee bit short. So I tried it on my son and my grandson, who are both around the same height as Paul, and that I was like, it was just kind of sitting just at kind of mid pocket on your jeans, on both of them, and I'm like, yeah, you kind of want it to be at the fold of your hip, I think.
Yeah, just a little bit
the
longer.
top of your leg.
Yep.
Yeah, so it needed a bit more length. So I'm gonna have to, I guess, rip out the bottom and re-knit the.
You don't probably need to rip it out. I know it's top down, but okay. So we've had some good comments in the in the comments around the possibility of for me anyway, cutting the knitting and grafting it. So
yeah,
so as an exercise,
I guess if I wanted to keep this part,
save yourself the hassle
of re-knitting, because it is a lot of rows, I could actually just, like, if you put a needle in and put a cable in, and then cut out,
just cut
and then
it.
knit down.
Yeah, potentially you could save yourself having to re-knit the ribbing.
Yeah.
Just put some more stockinette in, and it's some good practice for grafting. I mean,
Yeah.
it's top down, so worst case scenario, you just kind of throw the ribbing away and just knit the ribbing up again, but at a longer.
If I make a mess of it.
Yeah, if it doesn't work out, and then you can tell me how it went.
Grafting isn't difficult. I do it all the time.
Yeah, and then you can tell me how it went and if it's a good idea, and then I can maybe have a look at it for my.
I have had a good hunt for that yarn, and I cannot find it.
Oh dear.
Anyway, so he loves a jumper anyway, and it looked really good. So I put the zipper in. I actually took some advice from some of the people who put in the comments. Somebody put it in that Creya Bayer has a really good tutorial for putting in a zipper, so I followed that one, and it kind of, like, the petite knit one is also really good, but it's not in English. And I think the Creya Bayer one, because she was so kind of casual about it, she's just like, oh, you just put it in here and then you just go psh, 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 psh. It kind of gave me the confidence just to get it done.
Right.
Yeah, and like the petite knit, it tells you to use pins and stuff, but I found that really fiddly, so I kind of pinned it in, but then I kind of took them back out again as I was doing it. Anyway, it worked out really well. The zipper looks really good. I think it looks really good.
Yeah, it's a great colour. I really like that colour.
And I would definitely knit it again.
It's kind of rustic, but smart rustic.
Yeah, so this is knit also in Wild Earth yarn, so the same yarn as this, but this is a DK version of the yarn, and this is a natural colour, so this is the actual colour of the sheep, it's not dyed, in the colourway Pebble. So some lucky sheep has this colour in real life.
Okay. Do you think they blend the whites and the blacks?
No, this is
this natural colour.
The fleece. Yeah.
Oh wow! So they just kind of. Oh, I see. They colour grade it, so they.
Yeah.
Ah,
yeah.
That's right. I remember.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything about this. I assume so.
Yeah. No, I think I saw a thing somewhere on the thing.
Let's not talk about things we know nothing about.
Yeah.
Ooh. Anyway, so Wild Earth yarn, very good. Love this. Paul loves it. He said it's really warm. He's got other jumpers, but they're not they're not as good as this one. So
Oh wow, nice.
Yep. So I just I'll get that done during the week and get that off to Paul. But the upside is that I got to show it, so that's good. I'm happy with that.
You're not reliant on just a picture.
Yeah.
Which is
and I'll get Paul to send me a picture of him wearing it, so you can all see the recipient and the finished product.
That's awesome. So that brings us to the end of finished objects.
My finished objects, yeah.
All right. Whips. Shall
Yeah,
who's
go
got-
on then. I think we've
I'll
got
start.
about the same amount.
Yeah, they're pretty similar. So really the last 2 weeks, how do we say it? Knitcrastination, I think might be it for a certain thing. I've had a lot of decisions to make in terms of where I'm up to in my knits, and we talked about mid-project blocks last episode. So I did steam block both of my major
show one of them.
projects.
Like, what are you even talking about?
I was getting to it.
Okay, blur de blur de blur.
So anyway, Glenesque. Let's start with Glenesque.
Okay.
Glenesque by Jade Starmore. Let's get it around the right way. So this is Glenesque at the moment, as it currently sits.
So this has been steam blocked.
This has
now.
been steam blocked, and I've given it a good stretch.
And what are you procrastinating about?
Well, what I was procrastinating about was the fact that now that I've steam blocked it, it is at an appropriate width to fit around the middle.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy with that, but it lost, as we mentioned, it's likely to be the
only
case.
go one way.
That's correct. So it lost some height. Now the pattern itself is very specific on this is the row that you start your arm steeks on, and I was wanting to sort of stay on script, so to speak. So I had two choices. I could knit an entire pattern repeat, which was about 12 centimeters in row length, based on the measurements that I've currently got, and then start on the correct row. But I'm thinking that 12 centimeters of extra length might actually just be a little bit too much.
Can't you just suck it and see?
I can. So, and that's really where I got up to. That's the decision that I've decided on. Is what I'll do is I'll just keep knitting. I'll just knit the right number of rows to get me to the right
Height.
length that I'm happy with, and then just sort of start the steek at that point, and effectively
Because the different sizes must start that steek at a different point in the pattern.
and that's the bit that coming to that realization that just because it says for the size that I'm knitting it should start on row number 120 something, doesn't mean to say that that's any that will be different for sizes 1 and 2. So really it's probably not the end of the world so far as patterns go. So that's really what I'll do. I think I'm just going to keep knitting it until it gets to the length that it's supposed to be, regardless of my row gauge. And then I'll just have to be a bit clever and keep an eye on the schematics as I move up the steek, because obviously if I stick to the current row gauge, which again is too short, the armhole will be too small. So I'm going to need to knit more rows for the steek as well. So.
And then you're going to need to know how many rows that you knit in total, because you need to make your arm bigger.
Yeah. So
in that armhole.
That is correct. So one of the things I had contemplated doing was
Yikes.
actually going up a needle size at that point.
That's what I would have done to begin with.
And well,
No, you should undo it and do it again.
yeah. Restraint. Yeah, no, that's not happening. But yeah, needle size was potentially something I could do. I might actually.
You can knit the sleeves in it.
I was going to say I might go up a needle size.
Because it won't
for the
be as
sleeves.
obvious between the sleeves and the body, but it'll be very obvious if you change needle size in the jumper.
So I'll probably pick the because it's a pickup for the arms as well. So
Are they knit in the round?
I believe so, because you got to pick up the steek. So it's just
you pick up the sleeves
just like
and
your
knit
Marie
down?
Wallen, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
So just knit that in a... You're
So
probably
that's-
going to need more stitches as well, though.
I pretty much guarantee I'm going to need more stitches. So because I'll have more rows to
yeah.
fill in. So it's going to be a fun experiment. So who knows what that jersey's going to look like.
The experiments with a Jade Starmore pattern is like very precise knitting.
Well, it was actually. I haven't struck a pattern that's as precise as that one since I knit that Julie Hoover Redford. So.
Oh well, don't tell her that you've done that.
No, we'll keep it a secret.
Well, in fact, she should just make a more size inclusive pattern, and then it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, there are only 3 sizes. Although I did the maths on the centimetre edges, and where I thought it converted to 48 inches, which was a bit small, was wrong. It's actually a 50-inch pattern,
But it's still not
which
size
means
inclusive.
that my stitch gauge is out by even more than I thought it was.
It's not size inclusive though.
No, it's not size inclusive. In fact, which is an interesting point, because one of those things I'd said previously in a previous episode was that I was going to knit the Henry VIII on the Glenesque pattern.
Well, you're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah,
so
based on.
Get there.
Okay, I'll talk about that later.
Because you've got some others that you want to talk about those as well.
We're going to go 1-1.
Oh, yep, all right. I'll start with my MCal. No, Cal M. So confusing. K-Mal.
K-Mal.
The make-along. So this is Calypso by Black Cat Knitting Company. Ta-da! And it is knit in Outlaw Yarns Bohemia Light. And 2 colours of pink, which I absolutely love. I actually have a jumper in each of these colours, both of which I really love. But I had leftovers, so I'm using the leftovers. And it's a beautiful pattern. I've just finished the colour work, so I'm now at the point here at the 2 colours that I'm knitting with. And they are a combination of alpaca, possum, and Polworth.
Yeah, I think it's Polworth.
Polworth?
Alpaca. Yeah, Polworth.
Polworth and possum. So this is a discontinued yarn, but I'm using up my stash of it. So I've just finished the colour work, and now I'm just knitting down in the darker pink. And as usual, while it does have a collar on it in the pattern, I have not knit the collar, so I'll knit that up. And it's a knitted collar rather than a ribbed collar with a picot edge, and I've never done that before, so I'm excited to give that a try. I must say I have thoroughly enjoyed this colour work. This is repurposed yarn, because I had actually started knitting the Vega vest, which is like an all over colour work vest with steaks in it, and I was not enjoying it at all. And I thought, I've lost my colourwork mojo, but knitting this one, nice and repetitive, easy knit. I'd sped through the colourwork, really enjoyed it. No problem at all. So I'm really happy to kind of be back on my colourwork mojo and really enjoying the knit. It will probably sit for a little bit because I've got a couple of other things on the go that I really want to get done first. But now I'm up to the knitting part. It's just knit, which is lovely.
Nice.
Yeah. So now your turn.
My turn. Tag. Okay. So next on my list is the Bibliophile 3. So again, this was one that I was making some decisions on. He says it still only looks a bit like a
Did you block this one
block
as well?
Yes, I gave this one a mid project block as well. So you can kind of tell where I've blocked it, but this is the one where we've had great concern around the size of the arms and what the arms are going to be. So I still haven't done the sleeve separation yet. I'm still knitting down to get to the appropriate length. So when I had actually finished the required amount of knitting for the pattern, and I'm going to talk in inches here, I was at 8.5 or 8 inches, and I was supposed to be down around 11ish inches. So there was a whole 3 inches worth of rows that I was short. So
how many rows is that? I mean, I don't know from inches. I know I knit about three rows is 1
maybe
centimetre.
about 20. Yeah. So I think it's about 28 rows to the 10 centimetres and if I was 3/4 of that missing, so quite a few.
So what yarn is this in?
So this is in Wild Earth Yarns Somerset, and the colour's grape.
So this is a discontinued yarn.
Another discontinued yarn?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was... These
Well,
the
you
Somerset...
can still buy it, but they're not making any more.
Yeah, the Somerset base is a black sheep, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful.
So it's got a really sort of different colour set to it.
Yeah, it means you can make those lovely dark colours in it.
So Bibliophile 3 by Alicia Plummer. So really just a stockinette resting project at this stage. I am getting very close to where I want to separate the sleeves. I'm going to be interested in how the raglans, because the raglans have disappeared because I've stopped doing increases. So effectively it's just like a stockinette yoke.
Yeah, same as this.
At the moment. So
I had quite a bit of non-raglan.
yeah, so it is going to be interesting how
You can't tell.
yeah.
You can't tell on like you can't tell.
No, I mean it's tucked under your arm. So.
Yeah.
So like I said, we'll see how it comes out. I don't expect it to be a problem, but like I say, it's something I haven't done before.
Yeah.
So I'm keen to see how it turns out.
It's kind of funny that we're both experimenting with how to deal with the fact that we've knit on too tight a gauge.
Yeah, well, I did kind of block that one to start with, but I didn't really consider the row gauge too much.
Did you swatch?
I did swatch.
Did you actually swatch?
Yeah, no, I did actually
Properly
swatch. I did a half a swatch.
Did you block your swatch?
No, but
Did you measure your swatch before and after you blocked it?
the blocking wasn't the issue.
That's not actually swatching.
Yeah, blocking wasn't the issue though, so it was the stitch gauge I was interested in, and I still am on stitch gauge. It's the row gauge that's been a problem. So
Yeah.
yeah, so maybe swatches are for more than just the stitch gauge.
Yeah, swatches
But
have multiple purposes.
a lot of people tend to discount the row gauge, myself included. But
yeah, I
for
don't
some
usually
of these,
measure row gauge at all because usually it doesn't matter.
yeah, but for some of these patterns, it's become a bit problematic. Shall
Well,
we say?
usually if you've got stitch gauge, you're close to row gauge.
Yeah.
Not that it would be a problem.
Normally, but not in this case. So
No.
I guess that's one of the things on my journey with colourwork is I really do have to consider. I mean, I'm not a tight knitter, but I'm a firm knitter when it comes to gauge.
I would say you're a tight knitter.
Yeah. Yeah, but generally speaking, I'm on stitch gauge. It's the row gauge that I'm always out on colourwork. So. So do you have any more whips, Beanie?
I've been a little out of control. As soon as I finish something, I'm like, woohoo, new whip. And then I cast 3 things on. So that has happened. So let's talk about this one next. So this is, ta-da, I'm knitting a new jumper.
Oh, look. I recognise that yarn.
Cute. So I'm knitting our grandson Luciano a jumper. This is the Seaside Sweater by Petite Knit. So this garment is actually designed to be knit in stripes, but I just wanted a plain one for him because I want to knit matching jumpers for him and his dad. So my son, his dad, and us.
Can you imagine all 5 of us out
and his
together with
granddad.
the same jersey?
Yeah. Anyway, so it's a really good pattern. I wanted to get something that had buttons in it because babies have large heads compared to their bodies, and I saw this one. I got gauge on it, although I did go down a needle size to get gauge, which means it's a very dense fabric, which is fine because I think at the moment it will be a wee bit big on him, but he can wear it as like a jacket style, so wear it over other clothes.
Yeah, there's no wind getting through that.
Oh no, he'll be super warm. His mum's always worried about him being warm enough, so yeah, because she's always cold like me. So she'll be happy to have him in this, I imagine. So now I'm just knitting down to the required size. I was knitting it over the weekend, but I ran out of yarn. So this is knit in the Wild Earth yarn. Actually, I have a ball of it here because I just got another one. So
oh yeah, that's the 8-ply, isn't it?
yeah, so this is in the DK weight, or 8-ply as we call it, and this is Polworth yarn. Very beautiful. So I have a bit of this to knit my son a sweater, which I'll talk about later. But this is, yeah, so I'm just now knitting down to get a reasonable length. I've measured it against a sweater that I have of his, and I can see it's probably about 2 or 3 centimeters too wide. So actually what I thought I might do is what you did with that one, and take some of the stitches out at the bottom to make it a little bit balloony for his chonky little belly, but so that it kind of cuts in a little bit, which makes it better that it won't ride up, because babies' jumpers always ride up and that's annoying. And I also thought, I don't know what the pattern says about the arms, but I thought I'd leave those quite wide and do the thing where I do some rapid decreasing towards the cuff, because it's quite good to be able to slip something over someone if you're not kind of dragging their arm through that armhole. So I thought I'd make it a little bit kind of 80s style, where you've got the rapid decreases in the cuff and then a balloon-ish sleeve. Anyway, so I just knitted this over the weekend, should have it finished tonight if I was knitting on it, but I'm not sure what I'm going to knit on tonight, because I've got a couple of things that are close to being finished. So that's for
choices
for the baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and I still have more things. One more thing. He says, here we go.
Oh, careful of those stitches.
Careful of the needles, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where we're up to on the done cuff. So it's had one button band completed. So here we go. It's there. We've completed the 2 padded bands. We've got the top and the bottom done, and I'm now just working on the button band, which is essentially...
So that's the bit with the buttonholes.
Yeah, so you can see I've cast off the buttonholes, well, you might be able to see here, and then really I've just got a couple more rows to do on top, and I can call it done.
Done cuff.
Done cuff, that's correct. And look, it even manages to fit as well.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Actually, it is fitting quite nicely.
It's fitting perfectly.
So when the buttons go on...
Look at that.
Then we can start thinking about ruffles as well.
Yes, please.
And
oh me, oh my, I love. So the ruffles come in, and they must...
The ruffles come out...
So you must pick them
on the
up
hand, yeah. So somehow you...
Sorry about that in advance.
Feed them in, yeah. I know,
into swearing.
into the dark yarn with more dark stitches. Yeah. Anyway.
So cool.
But yeah, no, it's. I'm pretty pleased with how it's come out. It is a learning project. There's plenty of techniques in there that I have never done before, which is effectively why I chose to knit it. I've got to say, doing buttonholes in pattern in a textured colourwork design is kind of something else as well.
Right.
So
it's actually colourwork.
Yeah,
texture.
Casting off and casting on in the appropriate colour so as to not break the pattern is a new challenge. I've got to say. And
you've got to be careful because you can't have floats.
Yeah, and that was actually something I wish that I'd known when I had done the she shader, because there's an actual technique around carrying the wrong coloured yarn so you can actually get it out of the way of the buttonhole. Mm-hmm. Because I note on the she shader some of the buttonholes on that I knit for BB, if you put the button through, you've got to kind of avoid the float, or I tack the float out the way. So it's part of the learning process. There is, carry the yarn underneath the buttonhole, and it gets it out of the way.
I am so looking forward to having those. Probably for next winter, but that's fine.
Yeah, maybe. I'll still knit a few more as well, I think, because I've got plenty of the Hebridean yarn, and I'd quite like to experiment with some of the different colour combinations, and obviously get better at those techniques too, so they become more second nature. So that's my whips.
Yeah, you're doing really well. That's a lot going on.
Yeah, I didn't get a particularly long way on anything in particular, but...
Well, you're kind of working on multiple things. That's what happens when you have multiple whips.
It is. And I reached those points where I was like, I'll think about that tomorrow. And then you get busy tomorrow, and then it's like...
Procrastination.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. It's like, it comes down to blocking again as well. So, So, those are my whips. Did you have more? You did, didn't you?
Yeah, of course I do. Well, see, the thing is, here's the thing. I did cast on little things.
Lots of little things.
Yeah, they're just little things. So I cast on a little jumper for Luciano, and I also cast on a little singlet for Luciano. So this is knit bottom up, and I made it so that it was all over rib. I get the feeling I might regret that when I get to the top, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. But
right. So is that a pattern or is that a made up tube?
Kind of. So yeah, I just decided to cast on a number of stitches which seemed about right, which was like 128 or something, and then knit a tube and then see what I was supposed to do at the top when I got there, and so find a pattern that I think would make a top.
Right. You could stick some little armholes.
Like, not on superwash, I couldn't.
Oh, right.
So this is sock yarn. So the idea was to that Luciano wears little knitted vests, but they're actually polyester. So I wanted to knit him some woolen ones, but I also wanted to make things that are easy to wash, because I don't want his mother to shrink good wool, but I also want to make it so that she can in fact just chuck them in the wash. So this is Outlaw yarn sock yarn, and it is 100% merino, so it doesn't have any nylon in it, which is what I wanted. And it's a great sock yarn. These are my favourite socks knit in this yarn. Discontinued.
I was going to say, is that Sock Bandit?
Sock Bandit.
Discontinued. Yeah.
It's a I'm so sad this is discontinued.
It was. You knit whole jerseys and things in there.
I know. I absolutely love this yarn. I do have a decent stash of it though. I definitely have enough to knit him at least a couple of little singlets. And I do have other 100% merino sock yarn that I can use. This is just really good because it's soft. It's super wash. I know you can wash and dry it in the washer and dryer, because I do. With my socks, which people will probably be like, oh my gosh, putting your knitwear in the dryer, but I absolutely do, and they only shrink so much and then they stop shrinking anyway, and they don't felt. So it's loosely based on the pattern that I got, and I've written it down, is the ribbed singlet by Brenda Green. So I've kind of found a pattern that looked like it would fit the bill. I have absolutely no idea what it's going to look like, because it's literally just a printed 2-page, well, it's actually just 1 page. So just one page with some instructions. And the instructions are for a front and a back that you seam. So I'm not doing
right,
that.
Yeah, you've done yours in the round.
Yeah. But I'll start following it once we get to shape armholes.
Right.
Yeah. And then I have no idea what the armholes are going to look like. I assume they're just going to be little arms. But we'll see. We'll see when we get there what happens. Yeah, I mean, how hard can it be?
You're gonna have to go back and forward and knit the top parts flat.
Usefully, Val has put me on to a different pattern, which is by Touch Yarns, which I talked about last week, which is a New Zealand brand of yarn. But they also have a ton of patterns, and they have a pattern for a baby singlet, which is called I guess they call them vests, but I think of a vest as a different thing. In New Zealand, we call them singlets. That's knit side to side, so it's quite stretchy sideways, which is what you want on a baby. So you knit it nice and long, and then it's knit in rib that way.
Okay.
So you knit the whole length of the garment. So you knit a little sleeve and then cast it off, and then you knit the body side. Yeah, I mean, that kind of does my head in to do, but I'm keen to do it. So thank you, Val, for that pattern. I now have that pattern, and that will be the next one. I'll try a few different ones for Luciano. Keep him warm. His mother's worried about how cold he's going to be.
Well, winter is here.
Yeah, his mum's from India, and I think she feels the cold in Christchurch. It does get quite cold here compared to there, and so I think she thinks that Luciano will also feel the cold. But my son is impervious to cold, so. Yeah. Anyway, making him knitwear to keep him nice and warm.
Excellent.
Yeah. I do have more. Should I keep going?
I was going to say, keep going, because I'm out.
So
three's enough for me.
This has been a long-standing whip. This was a FO last show as a sock. So this is the Everyday Sock by Tinky Knits. I really like it because I can use the app and I just use the app for counting the heel flap and gusset, just so I just for the flap part, just so I know I've count the right number, so I don't have to count them. And this is knit on 2.25 mil needles, because I'm quite a loose knitter. To get a good tight sock I need to knit quite tight, and then the foot is actually knit on 2 mil needles because I do find them quite loose otherwise and a bit sloppy in the shoes. So I thought, I'm just experimenting with this. So these are knit for my daughter's husband's nana, and she has apparently very tiny feet. So just like skinny little feet and skinny little legs. So this looks like it'll fit her skinny little leg and skinny little feet. And I made great progress on this in the car ride on the way back to Christchurch. So I've managed to, and yesterday evening and this morning, so I've managed to get down to the foot on the second one. So I got to the point where I needed to change the needles and had to stop because I need to switch now to the 2 mil needles. Yep, it's like knitting on actual needles.
Yep.
But it doesn't take long. Like I can knit one of these in a day, easy peasy. And in fact I did knit most of one in a day yesterday. So I should have. So I've kind of got some options. I can finish Luciano's jumper tonight,
right. Yeah.
or I can finish this tonight, or I can finish his singlet tonight. I can get one of those things done.
Oh well. It'll be interesting to see which one you choose next time.
Options.
Although probably all three will be done by next time.
I would hope so.
No pressure.
Otherwise, Luciano will be cold.
Yeah, winter will be done.
And Megan's nana-in-law.
Yeah, she'll have cold feet. Oh no.
I should say that is knit in. The brand is called Socks, SOX, and I got it from Lupine in Auckland. They stock that, and it's alpaca and nylon. A beautiful yarn, fluffy, warm, cozy. I don't have any of my own. I've knit Stephen some, now I've knit Nana some, and I'm going to knit Megan's mother-in-law some as well, and I still haven't got any for myself. So all of the leftovers that I end up with, I'm going to knit myself some alpaca socks.
You could have some multicoloured ones.
Yeah, I am going to have, because I've got the purple ones, and I'm going to get some blue for Isaac's mum. And then I'll have blue and purple ones, which I think will look really cool.
Nice.
Anyway.
Or you could have one blue and one purple.
No, I'm not going to do that. That would hurt my brain. No, I'll do the heel, I don't know, like socks and cuffs and I don't know what I'll do. Worry about it when I get to it.
Fair enough.
Because it's knitting all ribbing. You don't kind of have a ribbed cuff. So what bit do you actually make a colour? Anyway, I'll worry about it
whichever
later.
bit you want.
I guess the heel flap and gusset, I can do that part in colour, different colour.
Right.
More. I've got more.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure you've got more.
So, I should note that the yarn for this whip is gifted. So very kindly, if you're a regular, you know we love Wild Earth yarn.
Yes.
And
half of the things we knit are in Wild Earth yarn.
It's half of our stash. The other half is Outlaw yarn, pretty much. And then we've got a few bits and bobs from other places, but like Shetland yarn and others. But we try and knit New Zealand yarn for the most part, and we love New Zealand dyers, spinners, producers, and Jackie and Graham are Wild Earth Yarn. So it's a small business. They have a mill in Christchurch, like locally to us. It's just up the road from us.
Well, I won't say 3 or 4 blocks, but 3 or 4 kilometres away.
It's not far. And so they're a small producer, but they produce beautiful yarn, and they have very kindly gifted me a sweater quantity of this new yarn that they have for me to knit with. I've been eyeing it up as they've been, Jackie's been giving updates on it coming through the mill, and I've been very excited about it. So I was very, I feel very happy that I've got this, and there's no obligation on Jackie's part that I say nice things about it or whatever. She just has said, here, we know how much you love the yarn, here's some new yarn for you, because she knows how much we buy.
So what is the yarn?
Anyway, so let me tell you, I find this is really interesting yarn. So the yarn is 85% merino, so it's New Zealand merino yarn, and this is the undyed version, by the way. and 15% Arapawa yarn. And what is Arapawa, you ask yourself? Well, I had to ask myself that as well. So the Arapawa yarn sheep is from Arapawa Island, which is in the North Island of New Zealand.
No. Marlborough Sounds.
On the Marlborough Sounds.
It's at the top of the South Island.
Right. Well, it's in between the two islands then.
Yes.
Sorry. And these mystery sheep are not found anywhere else in the world and seem to be related to the merino, but nobody's exactly sure because they're not merino sheep. They're their own thing.
Yeah.
And it was thought that they were brought over by the Australians when they came to New Zealand as New Zealand was being colonised in the 1840s, 1850s by Britain, as many countries were. And Australia was already a settler colony. So they thought that they were Australian sheep. Merino.
Yes.
And but then they did DNA testing. I guess people are interested in where these sheep have come from. They just exist on this one island in the Marlborough Sounds in New Zealand, and people are like, where the heck did these sheep come from? And so they thought they were bought by settlers, and then they thought maybe that they were bought by Captain Cook, because there's stories about him dropping these sheep off on this island. He dropped some sheep off in a variety of places, hoping they would, run free.
Propagate. And much like many other things were introduced into
so
New Zealand.
Destructive. Yeah,
like the opossums. oh, look. Here we go.
Yeah, ferrets and
rabbits,
all sorts of other terrible things that are scourge on our poor native species. Anyway, the reason it's called settler is because these sheep settled in New Zealand at the same time as the English colonists came and took over New Zealand. But then it turns out they did some DNA testing of these sheep, and sorry, this is a short story.
It gets more interesting. Yeah, I mean, it is a fascinating story.
They did DNA testing of these sheep to find out where on earth these sheep have come from, and they figured out that these sheep are actually most genetically related to a sheep that is found on the Gulf Coast in the United States, so the Gulf of Mexico.
North America.
In North America.
Yeah, so it might be in sort of the Mexican area as well.
Yeah, and so in fact were Spanish sheep.
Yeah.
Originally. And were brought over to New Zealand by Spanish travellers, so they didn't settle in New Zealand in the early 1700s.
Which predates Captain Cook.
Yeah, predates, there was people kind of sailing around the place, sailing around in the Pacific, because New Zealand was visited by Abel Tasman in the 1645 or something.
Good call, actually. Yeah, my timeline's probably out.
And it was already a populated country at that point, so it had been discovered, about 1,000 years before that. Anyway, but back to the sheep.
Yeah, don't ask me for New Zealand history.
So these sheep were thought to have arrived on this random little island in the middle of the ocean in the early 1700s, bought by Spaniards. And why they were leaving sheep on islands, I don't know. But and they've been there ever since. And they're classed as a feral sheep. And we had to look that up as well, because I had no idea what that meant. It's not a wild sheep. A feral sheep is a sheep that was domesticated, but it has since become a wild sheep. So they are not... They exist on the island. I assume they're not farmed. They are good. They produce very good wool because they've been just existing in the middle of quite a hostile environment for 200 years.
Yeah, it's a very hostile environment, Arapawa Island. I know
it's
a little bit
windy.
about. I know a lot about the island, but not about the sheep, because through work there's a lot of forestry takes part on that, and the trees are usually all on a bit of a slant.
All right.
And it's
very windy.
And it's so windy that the bases of the trees are way, way thicker than the tops, because they have to hold on so tight. So,
right. So the Fovo Strait is extremely windy. Apparently it creates... anyway. Is it Fovo Strait?
No,
Cook Strait.
Cook Strait. Fovo's the one at the bottom.
Fovo's the one at the bottom. So Cook Strait apparently is one of the windiest places because of currents and other things that we won't go into. Anyway, back to the sheep. Sorry, Jackie and Graham. I am going to talk about the yarn. But I was just really interested in the sheep. I just think it's like, I'm interested in history. I like the idea that these sheep have been just kind of doing their thing for 200 years, and we've been, obviously, people have been sharing them because this yarn exists. This yarn is beautiful. It's got all of the properties of a merino, which means that merino is really soft, and but I don't know what the properties of the Arapawa is, but it feels like a slightly rustic version of cashmere. You have a feel of that. I mean, he has
Yeah.
a feel of it.
Yeah, I scanned a couple of these already. So.
Yeah, he scanned them up for me. It's very soft, beautiful yarn, but it has that little feel of rusticness to it.
Yeah, it's
So
lovely.
Yep, it's a worsted spun yarn. It's 4-ply, 400 meters that you get for $40, and so the intended gauge is knitting it as 2.75 mil to a 3.25 mil needle. So fine gauge yarn, which is exactly what I wanted to knit something up in a fine gauge. So the intended gauge is 28 stitches and 36 rows.
So what are you knitting?
So I'll tell you what I'm knitting. I am knitting the Sunday Tea by Petite Knit. So it's designed to be knit in cotton or silk, or I don't know what. I think the yarn is cotton.
Most of the Ravelry pictures look like cotton.
Yeah, but I wanted like a lightweight jumper, so I'm going to knit the tee, but I'm going to knit long sleeves on it. And it has, Stephen would have put a picture of it up, but it has this lovely kind of radiating pattern of knits and purls. So I've started it. I've done as usual, I haven't knit the collar, so it looks like a collar, but...
Yeah, it actually looks like the ribbing, yeah.
Yeah, of a collar, but it's not. It has a non-ribbed collar, the same as the Calypso, which I'm knitting. So I'll pick that up and knit it up, and it's a folded collar, so I'm keen to do that again. I haven't done that before, so I'm interested in how that works. And I'm just up to the second round of the ribbing, so you can see where I've increased there to get from, it goes from 2x2, and then they increment out to, I think you get to a 4x4 rib pattern. Just at the top. So yeah, and I'm absolutely loving knitting with this. I tell you what is a really great knitting trick is that when you want 3.3 mil needles to feel big, try knitting on 2 mil needles for a while, and then when you go back to these ones, it's like, oh, giant needles. Because that's what I've been doing. I've been switching between the sock and the singlet, which are knit on tiny needles, to knitting with the 3 mil needles, which do feel a lot more chunky. And then by the time I get to the 3.75 mil needles of the Calypso, I think actually I'm knitting those on 3.5, they just feel like massive. So it's all fine gauge.
Yep, I know exactly how you feel. It's like I've just spent the last year on 2.75s and 3.25s, and knitting bibliophile I'm on 4s, and they're positively massive.
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward. I love the colour. So this is the natural colour. At the moment, this yarn comes in 3 colourways. It comes in pink and a blue and then this is the natural sheepy colour. So Jackie let me choose whatever colour I wanted, and normally I go for the pink, and the pink is beautiful. I love it. But I really wanted something in the natural yarn in this kind of colour. I after knitting this one, I wanted something in that kind of colourway because I really like it.
Yeah, it's so nice to have some of those garments in that natural white colour.
But it's knitting up beautifully. It has a beautiful halo. I really love it. It feels, it's just so nice.
Yeah, right. So... You're going to have a nice t-shirt. Well, not t-shirt.
No, I will
long
knit
sleeve.
I'll knit it as a jumper.
Yeah.
But it will be for summer for me, which is good. This is the time you're supposed to knit your summer jumpers.
Well, there you go.
When it's winter.
Get it done in time, yeah.
Yeah, because it will take me a while. I think you'll be seeing this one for a while.
And then knitting plans.
So that's all my whips. I've got 5 whips. It feels completely out of control, so I need to get some of them off the needles, honestly. I've never had so many jumpers on the go at once. Do you want to talk about plans?
Plans,
I
yeah.
need a break.
Yeah, have a break. So I've carried on my swatching journey for Henry VIII by Alistair Moore. So
You've got your original swatch
I do have my original swatch here. So this was the original swatch that I did in the Hebridean 2-ply. So it's Alistair Moore's Hebridean 2-ply. So we showed the colours that I got last episode. So if you excuse the thing, so this is what I've been experimenting with. So this is the Outlaw Yarn Rebel Light colours. It's not perfect. I still have some adjustment and experimentation. I think the origin, the white at the bottom here, is too much of a contrast. And I'm not 100% sold on this sort of light purple in here, but I am really liking the way that the colours are blending. He's trying to find some focus. The way the colours are blending from the sort of real rich blue up here and through to the dark greens and the mid blues here. So
yeah, so that one looks that lighter colour looks off to me.
It does. So there's some saturation issues. I think some of the colours are a little bit too desaturated. And I'm really enjoying the ones that have got a good deal of saturation.
And you can see in the original kit by Alistair Moore, she's done that in a grey.
Yeah, the grey is what we're trying to get away. Sorry. The grey is what I'm trying to get away from.
Yeah, and the white has made that worse, not better. So you need to have she's obviously made it so that it's contrasty, but you want to...
Slightly less contrasty.
Yeah.
I mean, I like these colours, except for the grey, I think. And it's about working either a new twist on these colours or coming up with colours which are sort of similar. Like, I don't mind them being matchy-matchy if I can. So what I'm going to do is we do have a large stash of Rebel Light as well.
Yeah, we're going to get that out after this, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to break that out and just see if there's only a couple of colours I want to tweak. And then what I'm going to do is, rather than re-knit the whole swatch again, I'm just going to knit some stripes to look at the colour progression.
Yeah,
and
to see how they look together.
Yeah, and then try and match them up and see how we go. So, But anyway, like I say, I'm on a bit of a colour journey with that. The other thing I wanted to say about Henry VIII was that I had previously mentioned that I was going to perhaps put the pattern on the Glenesque chart. So as you've probably heard about when I was talking about
the body is about the same.
Yeah. I was going to have Glenesque all knit up and I would know how it fits. So I can just make a pattern adjustment and put the pattern on the Glenesque stitch count. And I'd seen an old Henry VIII pattern and I knew there was only 3 sizes for it as well, which lined up with Glenesque. So I did all that, but then I got the Henry VIII pattern card and I was actually pleasantly surprised to discover that there's a 4th size being added. I know. So
Alistair Moore being all size inclusive.
I wouldn't say it was size inclusive at all.
Yeah.
But it does actually provide me with a larger option than what I originally had. So
now you've got one more size up from where you were.
So I have a size that I can actually knit, I think, that will fit me in the Henry VIII. So
that's good.
Yeah, I don't have to do any pattern adjustments or anything. I can just knit to the pattern stitch count.
Maybe go up a needle size.
Yeah, well, I have got to actually see the result of the Rebel Light swatch yet as well. So again, that in itself, I get a feeling that gauge is slightly bigger, so that may be more helpful as well. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm up to.
It's an ongoing journey to get the colours.
It is an ongoing journey. I haven't nailed it yet, and I think size might be less of an issue rather than more of an issue. That I thought with Glenesque.
The colours blend together really well. They look so good. It's just that undyed, the origin colour.
Yeah, there's a couple. And also, I'm just not quite sure I've got them in the right order yet as well. I'm thinking the saturated purple and the saturated brown might be better if I switch them around. So, but anyway, it's a journey. So yeah, those are my plans.
My knitting plans are, the reason for knitting this was to knit a swatch for the next jumper I'm going to knit, which is in the same yarn, so the Wild Earth Aspen DK, and I want to knit the, so Maxim Sear has this little beauty that's so basic. He finally brought out a pattern for this as a DK, so this is a fingering weight garment, and I wanted to knit my son a DK weight jumper in the DK weight Aspen, and since Maxim has brought out this version, the DK weight version of it, I'm going to knit that. The problem I have is that I have not got gauge.
No.
So I'm knitting this garment on 3.75mm needles. Now the Aspen is very thick. I think anywhere else in the world this would be a worsted weight yarn, but
yeah, it even looks as thick as like Aran weight almost.
It's a very plump yarn. It's very poofy, and so 3.75mm needles is very dense to knit this on, and it's created a dense fabric, which I don't mind for Luciano because it's designed to be worn as outerwear, but for my son that will be a problem. So, and the pattern calls for a 4mm needle or 3.75.
I think it was 3.75.
No, it does call
it's
for
the same.
3.75mm needle, but I'm going to knit it on a 4mm needle, which means I'm not going to get gauge. So I knit a 3.75mm swatch, and I got gauge on that for the knitter pattern. But I'm going to go up a needle size, which means I'm going to need to go down a size probably. So I have to knit a 4mm swatch. I mean, I don't have to, but I'm going to. I'm going to knit a proper swatch too, not just a teensy tiny swatch, which I'm going to...
This is a proper swatch.
You learned your lesson, that's why. Yeah, so I will, and I'll measure that pre and post blocking as well. So so I kind of had a bit of a dilemma what I was thinking about it, because I measured the gauge of this last night and I was like, oh, this is 19 stitches, and that's on 3.75mm needles, and I'm supposed to have 20 stitches, so it's supposed to be smaller than this as well, so I'm not even on gauge with this one. So I'm going to be off gauge to begin with, and then I'm going up a needle size, and coming off the back of this I found that quite stressful. I'm like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. The useful thing is, though, I do at least have the child in Christchurch, so I can get him to try it on, and it's going to be a top down raglan, so we can try on as we go, which means if I have any problems with arm depth or yoke width or anything, then I can make adjustments. So I'm just going to have to be prepared that if it's not fitting, try it on regularly, and if it's not fitting, rip it back and do something different. So that kind of makes me anxious, but I'm just going to embrace it, because I'm quite interested in seeing how that goes. I feel like the theme of the last few episodes is how to knit whatever, mash a pattern to a wool and see what happens. Because we have, when trying to knit stash, which means you knit with what you've got, but then I want to knit specific patterns. I could knit a different pattern. I could actually knit the one I've knit before in this wool, which is the Men's Classic Raglan by Jane Richmond. I've knit 2 of those now, and they turn out perfectly on this yarn. It's a worsted weight pattern, knit on 4mm needles, and it's really good. I could just knit that, but that's boring, and I want to knit this one. So I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes. So that's my future plans. As soon as I get through all this business, I need to get some of this finished because it's causing me anxiety. As soon as I get that done, then I'm going to crack into a jumper for my son, and hopefully before it gets too cold, because it's pretty cold now, so sometime in the next month it would be good to have that finished.
Yeah, we've still got another couple of months of cold to go.
Cold weather, yeah.
So.
Anyway, so that's all the plans I have, and I really can't think anything beyond that. Although, update on my 20 and 25, I'm halfway. So this one counts. This is a Calypso that counts as my number 10, and this isn't in the in the list, but my son's sweater will be. So that will be number 11. So I'm getting there.
You're
so
on track.
We're halfway through the year, and I'm
Yeah.
halfway through the list.
No, that's well done.
Yeah, I do have all sweaters left, and I had some accessories.
Yeah,
like hats.
you've got 20 and 25, and I've got probably something like 4 and 25. So
Well, and I have knit extras, so I've knit quite a few extra
Yes.
bits and bobs as well. So yeah, I need to get focused on the actual 20 that I need to knit.
fantastic. All right.
We
Well,
need to stop talking.
I was going to say, I think we've come to the end of the list of things. It was fairly extensive
Long episode, sorry.
this time. So,
We knew it would be.
yeah, we did. But anyway, so thank you for making it this far. If you're listening to us say this, we appreciate the time that you've spent listening and watching. And feel free to give us a like if you like. Leave us a comment, please. And
Yes,
if
we
you're
do
not
love
already, think about subscribing. We'd appreciate that. And look, we hope you have a really good couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And
And I'll just say again, mana watia matariki. Welcome to Matariki.
yes,
And ka kite anō, which means goodbye. And it means until next time in Māori.
goodbye.